Know about your own sort of identity then?
Oh, it was horrible. I was gay when I was 18, but I struggled with it mightily. Not for any other reason. My family was fine with it. I just wasn't what was supposed to happen. I was supposed to get married to a guy. I was supposed to have a white picket fence. I had my first girlfriend. I think I broke out in hives. I was a mess for like forever. Like for like a couple of months, just like all stressed about it. No one else was stressed. Just me.
Was this Ptown that kind of triggered this, though? I mean, was that when you...
because we went there straight, and I think we came home gay.
Yeah.
It was what usually happens to me.
I'm sure you're not the first or the last.
I had no idea that there was this life. I had no idea. We went to Provincetown for no reason, just because we were going to the beach.
Yeah.
And we went to Howard Johnson's there, and the waitress, who was gay, and I didn't know that was gay, asked us if we were going to go to the Pied Piper, and I looked at my friend, and she looked at me, and I'm like, well, what's that? And it was, the gay bar, and I think I busted out laughing in a nervous fit, and I was just like, we can't do that. Well, didn't you know? We did that. We faked it. We held hands at the top of the walkway, and we walked down, pretended we were gay, had a Tom Collins.
Yeah. And this is, you were in your late teens then?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I was 19 by then.
Yeah.
But that was...
So what do you recall about like the music from the period? I mean, did it really start to turn you on
The music
right away?
had always turned me on. I just loved... My dad had a great stereo system, and I just loved... Didn't matter whether I was listening to Carole King or James Taylor, but when I found dance music, I was just like, oh my Lord. Because I could, when they weren't home, I would just blast it. He was an audiophile, so...
Okay,
So
wow.
I would be just like cranking it up. And I remember one of the first 12 inches that I bought was 24 Hours a Day, Barbara Pennington. And I would just like crank that in the house.
24 Hours a Day?
By Barbara Pennington.
Oh, Barbara Pennington, okay.
I can still see that label.
I like to write down some of the...
Impossible to mix, but it was a great song.
Well, a lot of them were back then, weren't they?
I always want to play it, and it just makes such a mash of it.
Right.
Because it's nothing clean. You can't get in it cleanly or get out of it.
So many records were like that then anyway,
My
right?
favorites were usually like that.
Yeah.
So then, so you ended up, when you ended up playing them, you didn't end up playing them.
Right, or you had to find a special reason to cold start them or something,
And I think it was always a mess to get out. They didn't count right.
Yeah.
Their tempo was all over the map.
Sure.
It was always tricky.
There's a lot of software now you can do to try to warp those beats and fix them and stuff like that, but I don't really...
I don't fix anything.
No.
I just play.
No. But you could probably get somebody to do it for you. If you wanted to.
If I wanted to, I guess. If I wanted to sit and do it.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
There's some Barry White stuff that I would love to do that too, but...
Yeah. So Barbara Pennington, first 12-inch.
I'm pretty sure that was my first one. And
I like to write these
Love
down
and C
too.
minor.
Love and Sure.
Loved that.
Yeah.
Just loved that. I loved strings. I loved because I came from that time.
Right. Do you find it... Okay, well, I want to hold on to that thought because... about music today versus back then, because strings are nowhere really to be found now, right?
No.
In most contemporary
dance. That would require
dance.
someone to know how to arrange, and I don't really think that anyone does.
Right.
It requires a higher level of musicianship.
Yeah.
And they had studio orchestras that's all they did all the time.
Right.
But there isn't anyone. You can't sit at. I'm not saying there isn't anyone.
Right.
But in general.
But you're hearing a lot of what's out there now, and we're not hearing a lot of that.
No, because I don't think they have the skill. Or I don't know, maybe that's what it is.
Well, I mean, I look in a lot of places and I don't find it either. So, I mean, I know that it's a vanishing number of people who seem to know
how to arrange
how to do it, really.
Or horns, or how to arrange that kind of thing, anyways, without just layering on top.
Sure.
I mean, because they were counterpointed, there were all kinds of things going on in the string section.
Right. So you get the Barbara Pennington record, and you start to where do you start to get the inkling that you want to collect even more of this music and then play in public?
Dance music. I didn't have an inkling. It's one of those things that I just did. I can't. I just loved it, and I couldn't get enough dance music. Oh, I would go to Sunday nights at not Avalon, whatever. Can't remember what they called it. It was Lansdowne Street.
City before City. It was
the Metro, and then before that it was I can't remember what.
Not the Rainbow Room.
No, I don't know what it was.
Okay.
But anyways, I can't remember. See, I told you I was gonna have a gap.
The good thing about the oral history is that it's like a patchwork, so it actually starts to all fill.
I don't remember. Someone would be like, "How could you forget that?"
Right.
And then if someone told me the name of it, I'd be like, "How could I have forgotten
Oh, I feel like I should know by now.
I,
But I don't.
I can't remember. Oh, but I just couldn't. You know, there's that scene in now I can't remember that. There's a scene in that movie where the kid comes out and he's in he goes to Studio 54. Is it called 54?
There is the movie version of 54.
And the kid goes there
Yeah.
and he walks in and the lights and the sound
Yeah.
and the whole thing and he's just like blown away by
Yeah.
that.
Was you.
That was me. I just couldn't get over the sensual.
Yes.
You know, like the visual, the hearing, the body's all packed against you. Like, it was the whole thing to me.
But it was also
just,
very
like,
smoky. I mean,
fantastic.
people were smoking.
Oh
and,
yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
It was great.
Do you miss like some?
Not the smoking.
You don't miss the smoking.
No, I was never a smoker, but I
Right.
used to have a cough. Like, I smoked 2 packs a day, and
Just from
I'm
being
so
in it.
happy that I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Or your clothes would just reek of it.
Sure.
Oh, my headphones. That would be the worst. You take them out the bed. Like, I'd work at Buzz, and then at night, and I'd go to the boat slip, and the next day, and in the afternoon, I'd take out my headphones out of my bag, and I'd just be like, oh.
It smelled like smoke.
Oh, but it was just that worse than smoke. That nicotine,
Stale.
gross, like,
Yeah.
yuck. It make
Right.
you almost want to heave.
Sure.
But they don't go right away, so it's
Right.
just, you know.
So you're there, but now where's getting you? When do you
they
start to
ended
get the
up?
notion to
I
DJ?
did. So we moved. My friends and I, we all moved from college. We went to Provincetown. We were going to do 1 summer in Provincetown before we went on to do our lives.
Right.
I was an English major. I had a bachelor's in English. I thought I was going to go to law school. I wasn't sure I was going to take a year to figure out what I was going to do, but I was sure more education was what was going to happen.
Right.
So there was 3 of us. And we went to the Cape. We rented an apartment, and I was a waitress at the Governor Bradford. And the DJ didn't show up one night. I don't know, he got a flat tire or something. And I said, I could do that. I figured, well, I knew every song. There wasn't a song I didn't know from like the first note. I could play Name That. Not anymore. You can't do that with me. But in those days, you could do that. I knew those records. So I was like, how hard could this be? I played my father's stereo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just, it was like
Sure.
a big thing. So I was like, well,
It was probably sounded better than the system there, right?
Right. It couldn't have been that difficult. So I said to the owner that I knew how to do it, which I didn't know how to do. I lied. And he said, oh, great. Fantastic. Go ahead and do it. So I go up in the booth. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's not Dad's stereo.
Yeah.
So I go back down, I go to the guy, and I say, every stereo system is different. Could you tell me how to work this one? So I would never think to do that today, but as a 22-year-old,
Right.
23-year-old, I was like, so he goes, oh, yeah, no problem. I'm like, oh, I obviously got that question right. So he comes on, he turns it all on, and they were the old Rusco turntables, the ones that had the shift. Did you ever see those? They were radio turntables. So in the middle of the turntable was a piece of felt that wasn't loose. It was on it. And there was this gear shift lever. And it was in the middle was neutral. And then you smacked it. It could go down into 33 or 45. And then there was I used to smack it a lot to start it. But then there was also a switch on the side that you would turn that would start the platter up. And I tell you, that platter would rip your arm off. I mean, the torque on that was major. But you couldn't match beats. Because you couldn't drag it, because it would burn your finger. I swear to God to you.
Right.
Ask anyone that's ever used them. And then, so I learned to figure out how to do that. So I was just singing from song to song. I didn't know, but they danced all night. And at one point, he told me not to have them dance so much because the floor was heaving, and they were in there's a basement at the Governor Bradford, and it was causing something to fall out of the ceiling. So he was like, stop them from dancing. So I was like, okay. So I was just, the bug had bit me bad.
Yeah.
So I had that first experience, and then the bad part of the night was, and I'll never forget it, I was playing Cars by Gary Newman, and I picked the needle up off the wrong record, and I couldn't figure out what happened to the sound. And I'm standing there with the needle in in my hand, and then I realized, oh, that's what happened to the sound. But I'll never forget that as long as I live.
I think every DJ has that story. I know I did it. I think every DJ's that where you just lifted off the wrong one.
I've done it.
Mortifying.
I've also stopped the wrong CD player too. I mean, it's not that I still do it, especially if I'm overtired or I'm not paying attention,
or
I'm talking, just too busy talking.
People are forgiving, I think,
of
though.
That. Especially nowadays, you can hit it quicker.
Yeah, you can just get it back once you figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So that was like one night.
I did that one night. I walked out of that place. I was just higher than high. So then he didn't come again, and the owner said, "Do you want to do this again?" And I was like, shit, yeah.
What was the pay like? I mean, did they pay you?
I didn't ask him to get paid. I didn't ask to get paid.
So he didn't pay you the first night?
No. Then it was $25.
Yeah.
So the next time I did it, he paid me $25.
Right.
And I was just thrilled, so thrilled to do it. But I had but now see, then I learned. So now I've just done this thing, and then I realized that I'm not that smooth. Like I go out to the club and the songs go from one to the other, but I can't figure out how that happens because you couldn't make that happen with those turntables. There's just no way you could. You could. I mean. And
what year must this have been? If you were playing Gary Newman's Cars, it had to have been like 1980.
Yeah. So I'd gone through college. So I was 23.
Right.
I think I was 23 in 1980. Anyways, I had just got out of school.
Right.
But I had lived in the nightclubs up to that point. So I mean, I had to see that. But I knew about the smoothness thing, and I knew that I couldn't figure that out. And then so then I went back home for the winter. I went with one of my girlfriends. We went back out to Western Mass because she had to finish up school, and I stressed it. I was like, I don't want to wait. We're going to go back to the Cape, but I didn't want to waitress. So I was like, I really want to play records. That's what I really, really want to do. And so I got my nerve up one day. I went down there to see him, and I was like, Donald, I'd really, really like to be the DJ. Oh yeah, sure, you can do. And I had sweated that for months and months, thinking he would never hire me for that. And he did.
Right.
And then that was like $25 a night. I got $35 on the weekend. And sometimes I play between bands, if they had a band there, and then sometimes I would just play.
Right.
And that was
how many nights a week was that?
Probably maybe 4. I always on the weekends, and I can't remember what happened during the week, but I know I had 2 rates of pay, so there must have been a.
Do you have a lot of photographs from this period?
I have no photographs from any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me that all the time. I don't have any from the 80s either.
I don't have a lot of me.
I don't have any in the 90s. I don't really have any. I think I have more of me now, and I don't even think I have that. No, I don't really have any.
Right.
But so then from there, I met up with this guy. His name was Terry Bowden, and he was.
Oh my God, I know Terry.
Right. Okay.
Sure,
so
yeah.
he was working at the Pied Piper at the time, and he was like, you should really go make an application to the Pied Piper. And I was like, I don't play well enough to play at the Pied Piper.
Right.
I can't do that. Oh, yes, you do. You'll be fine. So he was working at the back room at the time, so he let me come and practice. But now, mind you, I didn't even know what I was practicing. I just, because I couldn't make the 2 records go together. What I would do, because I didn't know about the slip mat thing, so I would almost have my nose in the groove the whole time. I would just keep dropping the needle, and so sometimes you would hit it right, and sometimes you wouldn't. I knew about beats per minute, so I made sure that my songs were, like, I would play a 120 beat per minute song with a 120 beat per minute song, but I couldn't figure out how to catch that first beat or the measure part. That was the next piece that came. So, but I was still, but people would dance, and it was as smooth as it could be, and so I got the job at the Pied Piper, and Jackie Mack, who was a legend at that time, she's dead now. She was not playing there, but she was around, and the owners of the Pied realized that I was missing a piece of the puzzle, and because I just wanted the part-time DJ's job, but I got the full-time DJ's job. So the owners of the Pied Piper then hooked me up with Jackie Mack and said, this kid's got it, but she's missing something. Can you help her out? So Jackie takes me up in the booth, and she goes, show me how you play. So I start doing it. She was like, all right, stop right there. She says, don't you know how to use you know how to slip cue a record? And I was like, no, I don't know how to do that. So I have to tell you the most simplest thing, but because I had learned on these Rusco turntables, I didn't realize that I could pull don't ask me why I didn't know this. I was never very bright.
Well, everybody has to learn something.
I just didn't know so that to start on the beat, all I had to do was pull it, changed my life, changed my playing, changed everything from that minute on.
But they were different turntables there.
By then it was the 5100s, the Techniques,
right?
With the little knob that you would do with your thumb.
Right.
I loved those. Yeah. Oh, they were great.
I've heard somebody else talk about these recently.
You'd put your hand, you would be against the platter here, and then there was the little roller, and you would roll back and forth. I loved those. It took me a really long time to switch over to the 1200s, because the 51s were just.
And the 51s were basically standard before the 12s.
Yes. And that's what you roll.
And did they have
like
a thick silver
they had thick silver, and they were gray, so they weren't as robust as the 1200s. I mean, looking, but man, their torque on them was great too. You know, you could really like.
But you didn't have to. Now, I know that with 1200s you could clip that resistor to modify them.
Yeah, you didn't have to do it with that, but they did do. I think they. I don't think there was a quartz lock on them.
Okay.
I don't believe.
So they had some
was.
give when you were slip queuing, and
yeah.
you didn't have to like.
Yeah, but then you
fight
could
them.
really like, you know, I thought you could do anything with them. David LaSalle still loves those. Dave, you know,
in Ptown, yeah.
Ptown, yeah. I think he still plays on the 5100. I think he's
when he
using
plays
CD,
vinyl.
when he plays vinyl, because I think the 51s are still sitting there in my mind's eye. I can see them.
Yeah.
But I loved those. So once I learned how to slip cue the record, then the whole world opened up to me. Then I understood measures and beats and all that.
And we're at the Pied Piper.
I'm at the Pied, yeah. So that changed my life. Jackie Mack changed my life.
Yeah.
That's what I have to
Well,
say.
I mean, you have to have mentors, right? I mean, somebody has to take you under their wing and say.
And Terry was the first one.
Yeah.
Jackie was the second one.
Yeah.
And really, that 10 minutes was worth, you know, the weight in gold. And I just was like, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
It was just the strangest thing.
Yeah, yeah. See,